So today I thought we'd do something a little bit different and do a commander, well, it's not really a deck tech, it's just going to show you one of my decks, and this deck is for Kaalia of the Vast. She is a 2/2 for 4, it's 1 generic, 1 white, 1 black, 1 red. She has flying, and whenever she attacks, you may put a demon, an angel, or a dragon creature card from your hand onto the battlefield tapped and attacking that opponent. So she basically cheats creatures out, which is fantastic, since demons, dragons and angels they usually have a high CMC. So we'll start off going through with the land. Now I run this deck quite land light, to be honest. I make up for it with some mana rocks, but I think there's only about 20 to 22 land in here total. So we've got 2 swamps and 1 Urbog, which makes every land, even your opponent's, a swamp in addition to their other types. That helps with a little bit of mana fixing. I run 3 plains, and I run 2 mountains, and that's it for the basic lands. I also run an Evolving Wilds and a Terramorphic Expanse, just help with a little bit of filtering and to pull out one of those if I need to. I run a Reliquary Tower, giving me no maximum hand size and tapping for 1 generic mana. A Nomad Outpost, it lets me tap for any of the Mardu colours that I might need. Bloodfell Caves, enters tap, gain 1 life. Really it's only there because it's got 2 colours on it. The 1 life's a bit immaterial. But the Temple does the same thing, taps for black or red, but it allows me to scry 1 when it comes onto the battlefield. I think that's a fantastic ability, much overlooked. We've got a Scoured Barrens, which again, just 1 life, but this one's for white and black. A Sacred Foundry, giving you the option to pay 2 life so it doesn't come into play tapped. A Windscarred Crag, gaining 1 life, tapping for red or white. A Temple of Silence, white or black, and again, giving me that scry 1 ability. Command Tower, let me tap for any colour in my commander's identity, which is going to be any colour I'm going to use in this deck anyway. Noble Palace, it taps for 1 generic mana. Also, I can pay 1 and tap it to add 1 of any colour in my commander's colour identity. And if I spend this mana to cast my commander, it comes out with a number of 1/1 counters on it equal to the times it's been cast from the command zone this game. Now that can get quite fun, especially if you've had your commander killed quite a few times, which Kaalia tends to do. People know how powerful she is, they get rid of her quickly, they shut down your deck. And the other one is Rupture Spire. You have to pay 1 or sacrifice it when it comes out, but it taps for any colour. And a Transguild Promenade, which does exactly the same thing. So that's our land base. Next to go with that is the Mana Rocks. Sol Ring, taps for only 2 mana. Everyone needs a Sol Ring. Got the Signets. You pay 1 and tap it, and you add both a black and a red to your mana pool. So you are paying for it, so you're only up 1 mana. However, it's pretty decent, especially for ramping. Boros Signet, same thing, but for red and white. And the Orzhov Signet, same thing, but for white and black. It's very important to be ramping in a Kaalia deck. You need to get her out onto the field and attacking as soon as possible. Otherwise, you're going to get took over by some of the quicker decks in the game. We've got an Orzhov Cluestone. This one taps for white or black, not the both. However, you can pay 1 white and 1 black to tap it and sacrifice it and draw a card. Pretty useful late game if you've got quite a bit of mana out. We've got the Mardu Banner, tapping for any of the colours that we need. A Spectral Searchlight, allows you to add 1 mana of any colour to your mana pool. This has the ability though to also give it to one of your opponents, so pretty good in Commander if you're trying to win friends. Got a Commander Sphere, tapping for any colour in your commander's colour identity, and you can sacrifice it again to draw a card. We have a monolith. And the dark steel ingot. Indestructible. Always having mana on the field that can't be gotten rid of is fantastic, especially in some metas. And that is it for the mana rocks. Going to move on to our instants. Now, I've only got 6 instants here. Crackling Doom, one of each colour for the Mardu colours, and deals 2 damage to each opponent, and each opponent sacrifices a creature with the greatest power among the creatures he or she controls. 3 mana, one of each. That is unbelievably powerful. Not only are you getting rid of their highest creature, you're getting to deal a little bit of damage too, but it's mainly for that creature effect. And it's each opponent has to sacrifice the creature. Gets around things like indestructible, and it also gets around things like hexproof. So, brilliant card, that one. So, is a dual card. Wear and Tear. Destroy target artifact or destroy target enchantment. Or do both if you pay for both. Just 2 cards in one. Saves a bit of space in your deck. I quite like it. Scour from Existence. Exile a target permanent. Now, it is a high mana cost at 7, but you get into exile. So again, getting around indestructible and stuff like that. But also, it's any target permanent that hits a planeswalker, that hits a land, it hits a Nithix, it hits a Cabal Coffers. So, high mana cost, but fantastic removal. It'll just get rid of anything. Unless, of course, it's got hexproof or shroud. Magma Quake. Now, all of our creatures, well, most of our creatures, have got flying, so this doesn't hurt us. However, it can deal X damage to each creature without flying and each planeswalker. Kind of a mini board wipe if you can pump enough into it, and it's a board wipe you're kind of protected from. Got Erase, exile a target enchantment. And finally, Faith Reward. Return to the battlefield all permanent cards in your graveyard that were put there from the battlefield this turn. So somebody pulls out a board wipe on you, you can just throw this down and go nope, and return everything back to the battlefield. Moving on to our artifacts. We have got the Spine of Ishar. When it enters the battlefield, destroy a target permanent. Again, that can hit lands, it can hit planeswalkers, anything. When Spine of Ishar is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, return it to its owner's hand. So if you can find a way to destroy this yourself, yes, it's a 7 cost, but you're bringing it out time and time again. It's a fantastic card. The Dragon Throne of Tarkia. It's a 4-drop and you equip it. Now the equipped creature has Defender, so it can't attack. However, you can pay 2 generic, tap it, and all of the creatures you control gain trample and get +X until the end of turn, where X is this creature's power. If you equip that to one of your 5/5 dragons, all of your creatures have just instantly got +5/+5 until the end of turn. That is fantastic. Whip of Erebus. Now I use this mainly for the lifelink, given all of my creatures lifelink. However, it can let you return a target creature from your graveyard to the battlefield. It gains haste, but then you've got to exile it. I don't really use that ability that much. However, the lifelink, especially on some of the creatures I'm going to come to, is fantastic. Conjurer's Closet. 5-drop, and at the beginning of your end step, you may exile a target creature you control and then return that card to the battlefield under your control. Now, this is great with some of the enter the battlefield effects, and demons, angels, dragons, quite a few of them do have enter the battlefield effects. So you can just flicker them, they come back, you get another trigger on that. It can really pay for itself, this card. Excuse me. Scythe of the Wretched. Now this is one that I've only just put in my deck. I'm not sure I'm going to keep it, but gives you equipped creature +2/+2. So on a 5/5 dragon, it's now a 7/7. And whenever a creature dealt damage by the equipped creature is put into a graveyard, you can return that card to play under your control and attach Scythe of the Wretched to that creature. In a deck that's all about cheating out your own creatures, to be able to then start stealing their creatures, I think that's going to be a lot of fun, but we'll wait and see. Now, the last 4 are all about protecting Kaalia, As I said, she's quite fragile. She's a 2/2. She doesn't have any kind of protection in and of herself other than flying, so she becomes a big target because of that powerful ability. So, you need to have her protected. The first one is the General's Kabuto. Costs 4 to bring out and then 2 to equip it. But the equipped creature can't be the target of spells or abilities. So all of the spells are going to get rid of her. Nope, can't target. And she's basically got indestructible, sort of. You can prevent all combat damage that would be dealt to the equipped creature. So you can swing her in without fear of her being blocked and destroyed in combat. So, nice little card, but not the best. Next up is the Whisper Silk Cloak. The equipped creature is unblockable, so again, you can swing with impunity. You know you're not going to lose Kaalia if she gets blocked. And she also has Shroud, so she can't be the target of spells or abilities. Now, that includes spells abilities you want to cast, so you couldn't equip another equipment to her, you couldn't buff her with a spell or anything like that. So Shroud, it can be a double-edged sword, but in this deck, for the most part, I don't target her with anything anyway. If she's got one of these on her, she's fine, she's good to go. Along the same vein as that, we have the Lightning Greaves. The equipped creature has Haste and Shroud. Now, giving her haste, she can attack the turn she comes out. She brings out another big hitter. It costs 2 to play this, and it's 0 to equip it. It is fantastic. And although it doesn't give her the impunity to attack without fear of being blocked, it is giving her Shroud, so she can't be targeted by spells. Finally, there's Swiftfoot Boots. Swiftfoot Boots, sorry. The equipped creature has Hexproof and Haste. This one costs 1 to equip it after the 2 to drop it, so a little bit more expensive. Does the same thing as Lightning Greaves, however, it's Hexproof, not Shroud, so you can keep attaching things to her, casting auras on her, whatever you want. So those are the artefacts. On to our sorceries. First one we've got is Remember the Fallen. Choose one or both. Return the target creature from your graveyard to your hand. Nice little bit of graveyard recursion. And or return target artifact from the graveyard to your hand. Now, if somebody is going to kill Kaalia and she has hexproof, that doesn't stop them destroying the artifact that's attached to her, giving her hexproof. This allows you to get both Kaalia and the boots, or whatever you're using, back from the grave on your next turn, and she can start hitting again with no command attacks. For a 3, 2 and 1 white, must have in your deck, I think. We've got Shreds of Sanity. Return 1 instant card and 1 sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand, then discard a card and exile Shreds of Sanity. Getting back some of your instants and sorceries, fantastic. In Garrick's Wake, you can destroy all creatures you don't control and all planeswalkers you don't control. It's a board wipe for creatures and planeswalkers, but it doesn't affect you. High cast and cost at 7 and 2 black, but if it doesn't affect you, it can really save you late game. The counterpart to that one is Damnation. 2 and 2 black, destroy all creatures and they can't be regenerated. It does affect you, but sometimes you just need to have a board wipe. Temporal Extortion. Now, it's 4 black mana. That can be tricky to pull out sometimes. However, for the 4 black, any player may pay half of his or her life rounded up. If they do, this card gets countered. Except it doesn't really, does it? 'Cause you've just paid 4 to reduce your opponent's life by half. That's powerful in and of itself. However, if no opponent chooses to do that, you get to take an extra turn. So 4 mana to take half of an opponent's life or to take another turn, it pays for itself. Or you've got a Diabolic Tutor. You can search your library for a card and put that card into your hand and shuffle your library. Dark Petition. It's the same card. It's a Dark Petition. And then if there are 2 or more instant sorcery cards in your graveyard, you can add 3 black to your mana pool, making it a bit of a dark ritual at the same time. New card in this deck is Macewind's Acquisition. It's 2 and 2 black, and it does the same as Diabolic Tutor, even the same casting cost. However, you can also choose a card you own from outside the game and put it into your hand. Now, there are rulings on this card saying what counts as a card you own. Look them up. However, in a friendly play, it can be pretty much any card you own, literally. If you've got the card there, you can play it, even if it's not in your deck. Really fun card. Next up, Ghastly Conscription. It's 5 and 2 black to exile all creature cards from a target player's graveyard in a face-down pile, shuffle the pile, then manifest those cards. Basically, you just get rid of one player's graveyard of creatures, and you get all of them as little 2/2 creatures. You can turn them up at any time for their mana cost. In a deck that's cheating out creatures, a way to get your opponent's creatures as well, it's pretty nasty. Torment of Hailfire. Now this can be one of the win cons in the deck. You pay X and 2 black and repeat the following X times. Each opponent loses 3 life, unless they sacrifice a non-land permanent or discard a card. If you pump 10 into this, it can win you the game. If you can pump even more into it, it's absolutely devastating. And the last sorcery we have is Relentless Assault. For 2 and 2 red, you untap all creatures that attack this turn, and after this phase, there is an additional combat phase followed by an additional main phase. 2 combat steps in one go, 2 chances to cheat out creatures with Kaalia. Fantastic. I'm going to put this to one side for now because I want to come back to that with some of the other cards we've got. But moving into enchantments. Now the meta I play in don't run a lot of enchantment hate, so I run quite a few enchantments in this deck. I've got Rage Reflection. Creatures you control have double strike. Fantastic. True Conviction. Creatures have double strike and lifelink. It's a little bit more expensive, but having the lifelink on it, well worth it. I'm going to put that with that. Stranglehold. 3 and a red. Your opponents can't search libraries. That in and of itself is worth it. You can search your library, get any card you want. Your opponents can't. It locks them down, especially a lot of the decks that rely on being able to search the libraries. But in addition, if an opponent will begin an extra turn, that player skips that turn instead. It stops infinite turns. It stops even just one more turn. It's a brilliant little card, and I put that into every deck that I have that has red. Luminarch's Ascension. For 1 and a white, at the beginning of each opponent's end step, if you didn't lose life this turn, you may put a quest counter on the Luminarch Ascension. And then you can pay 1 and a white at instant speed to create a 4/4 White Angel creature token with flying. Activate this ability only if the Luminarch Ascension has 4 or more quest counters on it. In a 4-player game, you play this turn 2, and nobody's got anything to attack you with, and it comes back to you, you've already got 3 counters on it. It is brilliant. Getting 4/4 flying creatures out that early in the game, and keep doing it just for 2 cost. Fantastic. Dictate of Erebus. It is an enchantment for 3 and 2 black. It has flash, and whenever a creature you control dies, each opponent sacrifices a creature. You have big bodies on this in this deck. Your opponents are going to want to get rid of them, making them sacrifice their own creatures to get rid of them as well. This card is fantastic. The fact it has flash too, so an opponent swings at you, you then play this, you suddenly block and lose 3 or 4 creatures, and they're forced to sacrifice theirs. It can be quite nasty. I love that card. Necropotence. 3 black, you skip your draw step. Whenever you discard a card, you exile that card from your graveyard. Then you can pay 1 life, exile the top card of your library, face down, and at the beginning of your next end step, you draw all cards exiled this way. A fantastic draw. If you're using Reliquary Tower, you have no maximum hand size, you can pay 20 life, you exile the 20 cards. At your end step, you put those 20 cards into your hand. If you can't find the card you need, doing something like that, you're probably going to be losing anyway. So Necropotence is a fantastic draw. It's overlooked a lot of the times because it can be quite dangerous. You can end up where you don't have enough life to pay for this. You can't draw cards, you can't get rid of it, and you basically lock yourself out of the game. So it does have downsides, but used correctly, used carefully, it is a fantastic card. Polluted Bonds, 3 and 2 black, and whenever a land comes into play under an opponent's control, that player loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. I have earned so much life off this whilst taking life off my opponents. It's a fun little card. They don't expect it. They're getting taxed for the land they bring in. You're gaining the life. It pays for itself many times over if no one can get rid of it. Gift of Immortality. If you're playing Commander and you're running a white in your deck, you need this. It is basically makes your Commander card or any other creature that you want to keep on the field basically immortal. You enchant your creature. When it dies, you return it straight back to the battlefield under your control. Then, if it gets to the end step without your commander being or your creature being killed again, you return the Gift of Immortality to the battlefield attached to that creature. So it's not just killing the aura, and the aura's gone forever, so it's like it saves it once. It keeps coming back. They have to kill your commander twice in one turn, or it comes back and it has got immortality again. It is a brilliant card. Now, these next ones, final 3 is Dictate of the Twin Gods. It has flash, and if a source would deal damage to a permanent or player, that includes you, it deals double that damage to that permanent or player instead. Doubling damage on your big hitters, always good. I'm going to put that with those. Furnace of Wrath, 1 and 3 red. If a source would deal damage to a creature or player, including yourself again, it deals double that damage to that creature or player again. It's another Dictate of the Twin Gods, but slightly cheaper, however costing 3 red. And finally, Gratuitous Violence. It costs 1 generic more than the Furnace of Wrath. However, if a creature you control would deal damage to a creature or player, it deals double that damage to the creature or player instead. So it's only affecting your creatures and your opponents. I'll put that with that. We're now on to our creatures. I'm going to start with the angels. The creatures are the last part of this deck, most important, so I've saved them to last. The Myria Shepherd. It has 4/4 flying, landfall. The cost doesn't really matter that much, we're cheating them out. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your own control, you may return a target non-land permanent card from your graveyard to your hand. Nice bit of graveyard recursion there, but if the land is at plains, you may also return that target permanent card to the battlefield instead. So it's either to your hand or to the battlefield. Fantastic recursion. The Angelic Arbiter. It's got flying, and each opponent who casts spell this turn can't attack with creatures, or each opponent who attacked with a creature this turn can't cast spells. It's a 5/6. It's making your opponents choose to play spells or attack. It locks them down. It is fantastic. Archangel of Tithes. For 1 and 3 white, 3/5 creature with flying, and as long as it's untapped, creatures can't attack you or a planeswalker you control unless their controller pays 1 generic mana for each of these creatures. As long as the Archangel of Tithes is attacking, creatures can't block unless their controller pays 1 generic for each of those creatures. Locks people down if they've got no mana, or it costs them a lot of mana to actually try to attack you or block. We've got Rare Dawnbringer, 6 and 3 white for a 4/6 with flying, and at the beginning of your upkeep you may return a target creature card from your graveyard straight to the battlefield. Shattered Angel, 3 and 2 white for a 3/3 with flying, and whenever a land enters the battlefield under an opponent's control, you may gain 3 life. Platinum Angel, 7-drop for a 4/4 with flying. You can't lose the game, and your opponents can't win the game. This is fantastic, especially with cards out there that just straight out say, if this happens, you win the game. This is on the battlefield. Ha! No, you don't. And also the same way as if you're going to be killed, it saves you until you can find a way to bring yourself back. Angel of Despair. 3, 2 white, 2 black for a 5/5 with flying. When it enters the battlefield, destroy a target permanent. Combine this with the Conjurer's Closet. You flicker it, you can get rid of people's land base, you can get rid of all of their creatures. It's only twice per turn, well, once per turn once you've cast it the first time, but it can be devastating. Angel of Deliverance for 6 and 2 white for a 6/6 with flying. It has Delirium. Whenever it deals damage, if there are 4 more card types amongst the cards in your own graveyard, you can exile a creature an opponent controls, getting rid of their indestructibles, or just straight out hating on the cards that you don't want them to have. Iona, Shield of Emeria, 6 and 3 white for a 7/7 with flying. As she enters the battlefield, choose a colour. Your opponents can't cast spells of the chosen colour. This card should be banned. Make no mistake about that. You can shut a single colour player out of the game completely. You can shut down a huge portion of an opponent's deck. It is stupidly powerful. But while it's not banned, I'm going to play it. Gisela, Blade of Gold Knight. 4, a red and 2 white for a 5/5 with flying and first strike. If a source would deal damage to an opponent or a permanent that they control, it deals double that damage. And if a source would deal damage to you or opponent you control, you can prevent half of that damage rounded up. That is awesome. Put that with those ones. Raylia the War Leader. 2 red, 2 white. It is a 3/4. Flying, vigilance, and haste. Whenever she attacks for the first time each turn, untap all creatures you control. After this phase, there's an additional combat phase. Again, another chance to cheat out a big creature. Another chance to just hit people for a lot of power. And that goes there too. Last of the angels is the Resolute Archangel. 5 and 2 white for a 4/4 with flying. When it enters the battlefield, if your life total is less than your starting life total, it becomes equal to your starting life total. Really good, especially late game. If you're down to 10 health, you play this, you go straight back up to 40. Brilliant card. Onto the demons. The Archfiend of Depravity. It is a 5/4 for 3 generic and 2 black. It's got flying, and at the beginning of each opponent's end step, that player chooses up to 2 creatures that they control and sacrifice the rest. That is a mini board wipe, only letting them keep 2 creatures. He's brilliant. Reaper from the Abyss. 3 and 3 black for a 6/6 with flying, and at the beginning of each end step, if a creature died this turn, you can destroy a target non-demon creature. Razketh the Foul-Blooded for 5 and 3 black for an 8/8 with flying and trample. You can pay 2 life and sacrifice another creature to search your library for a card and put it into your hand. It's a tutor on a stick. Another new one to my deck is 4 and 2 black for a 6/6 with flying and trample for Demon Lord Belzenlock. When he enters the battlefield, you can exile cards from the top of your library until you exile a non-land card. I don't run much lands, that's pretty much straight away. You can put that card into your hand, and if the card's converted mana cost is 4 or greater, a lot of my cards are 4 or greater because I'm cheating out big creatures, I don't care about mana costs, then I can repeat this process. For every card I put into my hand this way, I take 1 damage. Getting draw of this level is fantastic. I can put 6 or 7 cards into my hand just to pay 6 or 7 life for that. It's brilliant. If you're particularly unlucky and you just keep hitting creatures or big costing spells, you can kill yourself this way. But for the most part, he is value and he's very good. Also use him with the Conjurer's Closet. He just keeps flickering, keeps giving you the card advantage. Stronghold Overseer for 3 and 3 black for a 5/5 flying with Shadow. Nobody runs Shadow anymore. I love Shadow. Creatures with Shadow can only block or be blocked by other creatures with Shadow. So if no opponent's running it, this is a 5/5 that is just hitting them in the face turn after turn, and there's nothing they can do about it unless they have a spell to kill it. Orb Nixilus Unshackled for 4 and 2 black for a 4/4 flying trample. Whenever an opponent searches his or her library, they sacrifice a creature and lose 10 life. Whenever another creature dies, put a 1/1 counter on Obnixilis Unshackled. It's stopping people from searching their libraries unless they sack a creature or pay 10 life. What's not to love? Lord of the Void for 4 and 3 black for a 7/7 with flying. And whenever he deals combat damage to a player, you can exile the top 7 cards of their library and put a creature card from amongst them onto the battlefield under your control. You're basically just stealing their creatures again. You're getting your own out for free. Now you're getting theirs for free. It's horrible. I love it. Harvester of Souls, 4 and 2 black for a 5/5 with Death Touch. Whenever another non-token creature dies, you may draw a card. Lovely card advantage and the added bonus of Death Touch. And the last demon is the Bloodgift Demon for 3 and 2 black. He's got flying, he's a 5/4, and at the beginning of your upkeep, your target player draws a card and loses 1 life. You can do that to yourself to get a bit of card advantage, or do it to one of your opponents. On to the dragons. Now we've only got 4 dragons in here. First one is Ryusei, the Falling Star. He's a 5/5. When he is put into the graveyard, he deals 5 damage to each creature without flying. He can become a board wipe when he dies. I've got the Thundermaw Hellkite. He's got flying and haste, and when he enters the battlefield, it deals 1 damage to each creature with flying your opponent's controls, and you get to tap those creatures. Using with the Conjurer's Closet again, you're tapping down all the flyers that could oppose your flyers, and you're swinging in. Sunscorch Regent. He's got flying, and whenever an opponent casts a spell, put a 1/1 counter on Sunscorch Regent and you gain 1 life. Gaining life and making a creature bigger, just for your opponents playing spells and playing the game. He's loads of fun. And the last one is the Steel Hellkite. Oh, how my opponents hate this card. He's a 5/5 with flying. You can make him stronger, but his real ability? Pay X and destroy each non-land permanent with converted mana cost X whose controller was dealt combat damage by Steel Hellkite this turn. Activate this ability only once each turn. You fly in, you deal damage, you pay 3 or 4, you destroy everything they have with a 3 or 4 CMC. He is brilliant. And now we have just a few more creatures left. Ankle Shanker, he has haste. Whenever he attacks, creatures I control gain first strike and death touch till the end of turn. If your opponent doesn't have double strike or first strike, they don't want to block. He's letting you get straight in. The archetype of finality. All creatures you control have death touch, and creatures your opponents control, lose death touch and can't gain or have death touch. Soul's Attendant. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield, that's under your opponent's control as well, you gain a life. This card has paid for itself so often. We've got the Mother of Runes. 1 drop again, you tap her, and a target creature you control gains protection from the colour of your choice till the end of turn, making it basically indestructible against a creature it's blocking or attacking. She's valuable. I want to put her there though. You'll see why in a minute. Because our last card in the deck is Fountain Watch for 3 and 2 white. Artifacts and enchantments you control can't be the target of spells or abilities. I run a lot of enchantments. I have a lot of artifacts I don't want to be destroyed. Giving them hexproof is fantastic. Now, the reason I've put these cards to one side, we did a little bit of maths. With all the extra turns and the double damage, if these cards are out on the field and I swing in with just a 1/1 creature, the Mother of Runes, she's actually going to be dealing, if she's not blocked, 128 points of damage. That is unbelievable. Can you imagine what that is going to be like with a 5/5 creature? It is doing well in excess of 600 damage on a 5/5. These cards put together are hard to bring out like that, but if you can only get half of them out, say, you're still doing 16 damage on a 1/1 creature. It is unbelievable. And that is my deck. Hope you enjoyed this video. Please leave a like, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.